Hello and welcome back to FVC Season 6, round number 12 at the Australian Grand Prix. The Albert Park circuit in Melbourne, a very iconic one in the past seasons of the FVC. All the way back in Season 4, it was the championship deciding race for Apex. That driver still on the grid, as you can see in the Red Bull garage just at the bottom right of your screen. Joining me today in commentary, same as last week, is McLaren 1018. Welcome on into the commentary booth.
Thank you very much for having me over again for this week. Hopefully we'll have another interesting weekend, as I think I just saw one of the Alpines leave the pits there.
It was actually the Aston Martins and
Aston
McLaren
Martins
as well heading out onto the track for Saskimo, leading the way ahead of Alexi and Pixels.
As they say, first come, first served.
Already a big wobble heading over the curbs at the exit turn 2. Of course, as we were saying just in the pre-show, I doubt that'll get heard by many people here in the VOD on YouTube later. The Albert Park circuit is a deceptive one, and it's a fast one as well. Turn 1, 2 especially, it's a 90-degree right-hander heading into that opening left. It can come up on you very quick, but you don't need to take it as slow as you might think, but it is still a 90-degree corner at that.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that it shows us how deceptive it is, and now obviously because they've got, like, for example, I think turns like turn 6 where there's obviously a massive gravel trap right behind it in turn 7, which then leads on to the fastest part of the track, where it's basically almost full throttle all the way down to turn 9 and 10, and then to 11 where it's just pure maximum attack. And I'm pretty sure it's two DRS zones split with the chicane of turns 9 and 10. Just shows how quick this track really has become with the new upgrades that were implemented during the COVID times. And obviously, in my opinion, I think it has improved the track vastly, as it allows it to be much more better flowing overall.
Does flow very well. First car to start their flying like going to be Sassy while heading through the second DRS zone into turn 3. Missed the apex a bit on turn 1, but that opening corner does let you off just a little bit. One thing I did note before Sass started her lap, very low on battery charge for where you want to be. Already using only 50% of her battery on the out lap. Clearly forgetting to change off of hot lap mode, heading through turn 6 and 7. Got to be careful on the exit. Not spin up your wheels too much, and then it is completely flat out. Possibly even all the way up to turn 11 if your setup's correct.
I also just look at how close the barriers are. You've not got that much space for any mistakes, just a little bit of off balance and you're right into the wall, and that's either your lap done or even worse, your qualifying session done completely, or even your race.
Speaking of off balance, it was a bit of a wobble heading through the chicanes for Sass. I do understand the stream may be lagging a little bit. My game has tanked in performance for some reason. I'm not sure what's happened here.
This game being esports ready, as they say, by turn 10 standards.
Standards are definitely changing. Coming up to the line, the first flying lap of the session is going to be set at a 1:22.525 for Aston Martin. Pixels is going to be the second car over the line, setting a 1:22.457. Then the next car would have been Alexi, but going to pit lane boarding a lap. Mulder halfway around the lap. Blah as well, starting one, heading towards turn 1 now. Finishing one, sorry, 1:18.277. I swear I've seen the outlap notification there. It might have got confused with Mulder. Let me see if I can fix these performance problems really quickly. I don't think I can for whatever reason. Apologies for everybody watching along. I know this is unpleasant.
These things happen, nothing ever runs smoothly. Sometimes it's just how the show runs.
Game might be having a bit of a problem. Hopefully that graphics change does help things along a bit. It has not in the slightest. What is overloading my system currently? Give me one moment. There is still spare CPU and memory. I just don't know why F1 is deciding to lag.
Well, we'll see what's happened.
Houseman heading a new fastest lap of the session at 1:18.021 on the medium compound tyres. Apex about half a second behind, sitting in third place provisionally. One of the Alpines going into fourth with a 1:18.9 as Blah heads into pit lane to get a new set of tyres. We'll jump over to the other Haas. Purple first sector from Mulder. Not a surprise there, Mulder, a very quick driver.
Absolutely rapid in that Haas. Just going down Lakeshore Drive down towards turn 9, you know, just making sure you're hugging the inside as much as possible, just so then afterwards get a good exit entrance into turn 9 through turn 10, and then afterwards go all the way down the run down to Ascari turn 11.
There is a retirement. It is Rosenquist at the final corner. Not sure what's happened there. We don't have a car that is close enough to ride on board with, and we're not going to get to see. As well as Apex disconnecting from the session. Invalidated lap for Mulder and a big twitch coming through the final few corners.
So I mean, was saying about how this track can really throw your car off balance, and that's kind of the joy of watching all these cars go on the rails on it. But at the same time, the setups in this game, a lot of them like to be really twitchy, just so you can edge out those extra few tenths, just to get at that little bit ahead of your rivals.
To sort some of my settings, trying to get a bit more performance out of the game, dropping everything down just a little bit. Got a couple of frames out of that. I might need to reboot my game though during an intermission, if we get one. Jumping back to the McLaren of Alexi, did abort her first flying attempt due to an invalidated lap. Currently on another go heading towards turn 3, gets nicely to the inside, just off the DRS zone. Missing it a bit through 4, running a little bit wide as well off the corner as everything is still going wrong on my end. Tidy through 6 and 7, then it's a very long turn 8. It also does feed into turn 9 a little bit, depending on what track map or person you ask. However, these cars barely notice any of these corners around this circuit. Purple middle sector for the McLaren driver, deep into turn 9 and 10, a little bit low in the rev range, possibly wants to go down another gear there.
For Ascari, mate, turn 11, going down, run down to Stewart, making sure it's just close as well to the apex. Turn 13, I believe it is, yes, and then after for turn 14, and down the start finish straight, we'll see what Alexi has posted. It will be a...
Up across the line now, looking to be a good lap up to 4th place. It's a 1:18.510. Very respectable effort from the McLaren driver. As there's a bit of a desync spike as the Ferrari goes from in front to behind the McLaren in an instant. Let's take a look at who else is running around on a lap. I think D7 might be heading in on an in-lap. Judging by this, DRS is not open in the second turn. There's a retirement from Apex.
Apex, yeah, I was about to say.
Pit lane, as well as disconnect from the session once again.
Might just be because Apex has been having a couple of issues recently. I've just been looking at Alexi's car. Actually, I think for a second there was a glitch on my end, but it's fine on the helmet. But it's all right. Nothing's wrong. I'm just too paranoid with how many glitches I was used to on the Forza side.
And a quick note into drivers in case they want to make any light of the situation. I have a feeling there might be a potential restart of the lobby heading into the race session. Will give me time to reboot my game as well.
Yeah.
Apologies for the momentary silence, just sorting stuff out in the background. Jumping back on board with Sandvik 46.7 on their first flying lap. No time currently set in the board heading towards turn 11. gets the inside license running with the exit curve just the perfect amount. Then turn 12, you can take a lot more speed in here than you think, but you gotta be careful. Run too far in the exit, you're gonna hit that grass, and that will just keep dragging you out further. Nicely through 13,
That was
into
nice.
turn 14.
Those were nice and smooth from Salmon. Really nice.
Very able to see this puts them on the board up to 7th place, just ahead of their teammates. 1:18.718. Just getting a note from Apex that there might be a lobby reset after qualifying. There will be a short bit of an intermission. Also seeing that Apex can't get into his car, but he also didn't retire intentionally. I mean, the game has retired him and stopped him from posting any more times in this session, so... Once again, we're having a number of technical difficulties, but that is quite, unfortunately, common here in FVC. Jumping over to Mulder, purple first sector once again for the Haas driver. This time on these soft compound tyres, not in the mediums like he was in his last run. And also not in the mediums like Houston was on his run. There is yellow flags ahead for a slow-moving Alpine. Okay, that doesn't trip him up too much to back up the speed. That dirty air through 9 and 10, though, could just prove a little bit too much. Purple middle sector for the Haas driver. Very nicely through the chicane there.
Really, really nice.
Pretty
Thought
much
it was actually off
perfect.
track. On the limits. Really on the limits. As you go through turn 11, on the run down to turn 12, obviously now that's much more curved out than it used to be, into turn 13. And then afterwards going through turn 14, just making sure it's right on the apex and getting a good enough exit as you go down to the start finish, straight into the finish line, and as you go past the slow moving Aston.
Immediately to the top, a 1:17.1 from Mulder on the soft compound tyres. Also behind Harrison M in the Ferrari, 1:18.699 for the Ferrari driver. Only one car on track left to settle up. We'll jump over to the Mercedes, currently heading just out of turn 10. Through the right-hand kick towards 11, DRS wide open for the Mercedes, that huge rear wing opening a massive gap. That little bit more speed could just make the lap, depending on how you do it. Misses turn 12, just a little bit down, a bit of a wobble on the exit.
So again, turn 13 misses the apex ever so slightly, gets in turn 14, but it doesn't really maximise the amount of width you're allowed out of the track, but... probably want to do another lap for Eldorado, but it's better to get a banker lap in than nothing.
It is indeed better than nothing. It is a few places made up, only a 120.4, but it is something at least. Also, something we didn't note is Houseman responding to Mulder, but only a 117.4 on the board for the Red Bull driver. Confirmed that there is going to definitely be a restart due to desync issues. I'm pretty sure I'm going to be doing the hosting and setup for that lobby, so... That's not going to be very fun for me, having to run the lobby and run the stream, but hopefully nothing else goes wrong in that regard. Yellows, again, out in the final sector. We do see Sass quite off the track with what looks to be a broken front wing and invalidated lap.
Ooh, that might be cause for concern, unless there's a lot of debris around about the pit lane area. I don't know what's going on.
That's thankfully able to get cleared away pretty easily, not causing any damage to any car. Broken front wing for the Ferrari as well, indicating there might have been a bit of contact between the Ferrari and the Aston Martin. Due to the knowledge that there is going to be a lobby reset, there is going to be less concerns about saving the driver's tyre, which means we are going to get a number of more runs. We see Broughton and T7, as well as an Alpine out on track, getting ready for their next line. That's Broughton's going to have a massive amount of speed here into turn 1 in the slipstream of the Alpine ahead of him. He's going to have to hit his braking zone perfectly, though.
He's hit it perfectly.
Brakes perfectly well done.
He's going to use that Alpine to use the DRS to go down, run down to turn 3. He's going to use that Alpine to slingshot himself to get that a little bit more speed. Just about gets it for turn 3, and we'll see if it goes to turn 4, but Dirty 8 might start to come into effect later on into the lap, especially if going on the run down to turn 6 and 7, as that can just throw you off balance, just like what happened to Alex Albon, where he ran off into the gravel trap. But now it's a much better and easier flowing section, with the fact that turns 9 is now essentially just...
a massive amount of speed, that Alpine getting ever closer. There's going to possibly be a bit of contact, doesn't let off, gets off the throttle in the perfect place time, gets the very good exit through the last bit of the chicane. That Alpine's still there, though. He's going to get another slipstream, but it's going to throw him up. He has to let off, though, and that might just lose him that much time.
It's definitely going to make it him lose it. I can't see that not happening, because that's definitely impeding Broughton.
You can't really claim it as impeding, though, because the Alpine was on a fast lap as well. Broughton diving into pit lane, avoiding that lap, trying to make the most of it. OJ heading up to the line, 118.9 to beat, does beat it, 118.4 into 6th place. Alexi's coming around the final corner on another flying lap for her, 118.5 is her goal to beat. Very low in battery charge, she was definitely pushing hard this run, over the line, moves to 3rd, 118.01.
Really good lap there from Alexi. Really, really good lap.
A very impressive run up to the 2nd row. Going to have Broughton alongside, unless anything changes, which there is still another 2 minutes to go and a lot of cars on track. I'm not seeing the Red Bull of Houseman. In fact, no, the Red Bull of Houseman is moving down pit lane, as is Mulder going for another attempt, burning up the last of their softs. So basically every car on track currently. Pixels heading through turn 5, bit on the inside curve there.
Obviously, with how the track evolution is, obviously it's going to be, their lap times might just get a little bit faster, and we could possibly see some. I think we could end up seeing like some of the top runners maybe going into the mids 116s with how track evolution works in this track, and how we might even, and how it gets progressively gets more and more faster as the lap, as with each lap, and with each lap a car goes over and lays more rubber for the other cars to use.
The later in the session you can start your final flying lap, the better the conditions will be, but you got to be careful with the amount of other cars out there. You don't want to trip over any. And speaking of tripping over other cars, I think the Haas's might have tripped over each other on their outlaps just through the chicane. Big wobble coming out the final corner there for Pixels. He's got a 120 to beat, heading up to the line. He does not improve. He does have one more chance to go if he has the battery charge, which he doesn't, and if he has the tyres, which we don't know if he does.
Yeah, a lot of people letting off. It's really busy in that last sector. Really, really busy. So there's only 30 seconds, so everybody's rushing to get to the line just to make sure they can get in that last lap.
And it looks like the driver with the best track condition is going to be the Red Bull of Houseman. He is at the back of this train. There's 15 seconds to the line, and all the cars behind him are already either finished their laps or on them. Pixels retiring the session up at turn 6. Into pit lane goes D7, aborting the final lap. We'll jump up to one of the Haas to see if we can find out what happened to Pixels.
Oh, it's Houseman doesn't make it. Houseman doesn't make it.
He left it too late. He let off just a little bit too much for the Mercedes. He not made it to the line. That's Broughton is the final car on a flying lap. He's going to have a lot of dirty air, though, in front of them. Whereas Mulder has invalidated the lap. Blah's got the best conditions on track in terms of the air.
Gee. Ooh.
No dirty air ahead, pretty good amount of rubber laid down, heading through turn 11, gets it chucked in nicely. There's yellow flags in the chicane for an Alpine going slowly, that might just catch a couple of people off guard. Moving through at turn 13, a little bit slow on the exit there, a little bit hesitant, trying to get around the final corner, keeps it nicely in, doesn't spin up the rear tyres up to the line. 118.277 is his target, he beats it, 117.998. Defeats Alexi, moving on to the 2nd row. Mulder doesn't improve, but he doesn't need to, as his main rival already didn't get another chance. The Ferrari's up next to Harrison M, but that's invalidated. Early next in the 119s.
As Broughton goes
moves to second. 117.2. That is every car. I'll take a quick screenshot of that as Salmon comes over the line as well. Don't know if Salmon made any positions up or not. What a very hectic at the qualifying end. Mulder taking another pole position, 117.1, very impressive. But Broughton dethroning Houseman for front row honours. 3rd place is where he has to settle. 4th goes to D7 and 5th to the Haas of Blas. 6th place for a very impressive qualifying for Alexi. 7th goes for Salmon alongside. 4th row lockout for Alpine is OJ English. 9th place for Apex, 10th goes to Harrison M, 11th for Curly, 12th for Pixels, 13th to Eldorado, 14th for SAS, and 15th without a lap going to VNT Rosenquist. Hello and welcome back to FVC Season 6. We are off the back of just a little bit of a reset of the lobby, couple of desync issues, couple of game problems as well, but we are back once again. Gonna be a bit of a wait here as we wait for the drivers to all get their setups on. There will be a formation lap. I need to make sure I have everything ready on my browser to do the audio.
We can all blame Apex for this because everything's obviously Apex fault in this league.
Well, there's some things that are outside of people's control, such as internet problems and EA servers being EA servers.
I just like blaming Apex.
Well, to each their own.
Yeah. While
we wait for the stuff to be reset in the background, we are obviously off the back of a previous decent qualifying session. So let's take a look at the previous pole positions. 2023 Summer Series was taken by OJ English, who is currently qualified in, if I'm not mistaken, 8th place for today's race. POR Ben 12 was the pole sitter for Season 4. And all the way back in Season 1, the first race here, pole was taken by Apex, who'd go on to win the Season 4 championship.
I'd like to congratulate No Data, first name, last name, for having the one pole position in Season 0. Congratulations to him.
That was indeed something that did happen. But here we are for the formation lap. Mulder takes pole position once again in Season 6. A very impressive lap time. 0.2 of a second ahead of Williams driver Broughton, who takes second place at the end of qualifying. Houseman has to settle for third, missing out on getting to the line for his final run during qualifying. D765 will take fourth place alongside the Season 3 champion. Two champions alongside each other on row number 2. Goliath 5169 takes 5th place, and alongside is Alexi in 6th.
I want to point out
something. Sorry, go ahead.
I want to point out something funny that Apex and Mulder are the only two cars that decide to start on hards. Everyone else is either on mediums or softs. They must be going in for a really, really long first stint.
That is indeed quite an interesting look at all the different tyre strategies. There is every single different type of dry tyre on display for the start of this race. Some people are getting a good launch, others not so much. Moving on further down the grid though, 7th and 8th place, locked out. The 4th row is Alpine, Simon Baker ahead of OJ English. The duo at Alpine have been together for many seasons across many different teams. Let's see how they tackle the Australian Grand Prix. Further on down the grid, 9th place has to go to Apex on the hard compound tyres, and 10th is the Ferrari of Harrison M. 11th place, Curly in the AlphaTauri. We'll be starting alongside Pixels in the Aston Martin with Gerardo and Mercedes behind. SAS takes 14th place, and the only car without setting a lap during qualifying is Rosenquist in the second Ferrari. 15th for them, medium compound tyre at the start.
That could end up paying dividends for Rosenquist, because to be frankly honest with you, they might miss out all the drama that happens in the first lap and might gain a few extra places from being at the very back of the grid, but we'll see what happens.
We will indeed see what happens. Mulder will have to watch his back because Broughton's got the better tyre directly alongside him, and Houseman an even better one on 3rd place. 3 different compounded tyres in the top 3. It's going to be carnage into turn 1. Of course, Mulder will be having to take the outside line, and it's inside. Depending on the launch for Broughton, it could be a very, very good start. Of course, no matter what, if a safety car comes out or if one doesn't come out, there will be some people on the perfect tyre and some people on the worst. It can go any which way on this start, because all the options are already on the table. Jump on board with the Williams of Broughton for the start. Not great camera angles outside of the onboards for the beginning of a race.
Go TV pod half the time for these.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 red lights are on in Australia. And it's lights out and away. No, it's not.
It's lights out, away we go.
Lights out and away we go. A bit of a desync from the camera view. No jump starts, but a flying start there from Mulder. Broughton not getting off to a great one. Houseman's already charging around the outside of the Williams. Not seeing any contact further down the grid. All look to be through cleanly through turn 1 and 2.
Yep, all cleanly through there. Mulder getting an incredible start, especially on those hard tyres, though I do think that now Broughton's just slightly ever getting catching up now.
Track in the background, very far off. That's going to be the Alpine of Salmon. Coming back on quite aggressively, hopefully didn't cause any trouble further back. Front group still seeming to be clear. A little bit of a wobble. Alpha Tauri's very far inside of the road. Might be falling down.
There's a little bit of damage there. I don't know who it is. Apex has got damage.
That's the front wing of a Red Bull completely destroyed for Apex. Possibly from a harsh rejoin from either the Alpine or the AlphaTauri. Here comes the Mercedes Dorado, pressuring Curly all the way into the chicane. Having a look, 3-second penalty for D565 already. Multiple warnings on the first lap. Big wobble for the other Mercedes. There's a car round in the barriers. It's a Ferrari of Harrison M.
Don't think they've got any damage though. I don't think, at least not any visually. There might be some on the side pods, but I don't know.
Of course, there is more damage types than what we can see from the commentary view. The front wing is the most obvious, but every single piece of these cars must work together. Salmon a 3-second penalty for multiple warnings. But all this car needs to work together in tandem to get the most downforce. The front wing feeds through the side pods, which then goes through the rear wing and the floor. So if one single piece is damaged on any of these cars, the entire airflow is ruined, pretty much.
Yeah, pretty much. It also means that it starts hemorrhaging into lapses as Houseman gets a little bit loose there, and as there's a little bit of a train forming behind Mulder right now, but there's also a little scrap. There's a good scrap going on from second to fifth, all the way down, just trying to see who's going to get that first place. Though
I think the first place is going to be going to D7. A little bit of contact between him and the Hasselblad ahead. This 4-car group, though, chasing down. Blood's having looked on the inside. Rosenquist's retiring for the session. That's going to be the safety car deployed. I think Broughton might be having to return that place. He did cut off the track as that safety car came out, but he is keeping it for now. That's very lucky that he got past when he did.
I think there might be a crash, yeah, because Apex is just warming up his tyres. But yeah, there's massive amounts of damage.
There's a lot of debris where that Red Bull.
It's a shame for Rosenquist, because obviously this would be Rosenquist's last race in the series, obviously. But now they've had to retire. They've just crashed, and that's it. Really, it's just a shame to see.
Into pit lane goes Houseman, off of the soft compound tyres onto a set of mediums. This, of course, does play into the hands of some of the soft runners if they drove them too hard, but also the hard compound runners can go even further into the race now off of this safety car start.
It means that obviously they're not using as much. There's not as much degradation from the fact that they're not using it. They're not using it as aggressively, so that allows the longevity of them to stay around for just a little bit longer. It allows them to give it a little bit more life, but knowing how it can end up being and how some of them will attack, that might not last too long, and it might only give them maybe another extra half a lap to attack before they afterwards have to start thinking about conserving and slowing down or even pitting.
Indeed, it will. Also, taking a look at the driver channel, it is a confirmation Curly and Apex were the two cars that came together to cause the front wing breakage on that Red Bull. With a direct quote from Apex saying, "I have never shouted so much in my life, Curly," regarding that incident.
Oh, might be a trip to the stewards channel after this race, maybe for Apex and Curly.
Indeed, there possibly will be. Mediums and hard seem to be the favour of the day, as those are the tyres that some have chosen off of the pit lane. We do see an Aston Martin cutting over track limits, trying to catch up to the back of the field, but under safety car, not going to have anything much happening there. We're possibly going to go green again at the end of this lap, depending on if they're close enough. I don't think they are, though.
I don't think they are.
It's a very late call, and they are going around another lap. Safety car would have been coming in by now. Green flag at the end of lap 4, unless anyone dives in late on this lap, which would be a very big mistake to do so.
Because everyone's in a bunch together, and it's just be jeopardising your place now, and you'll just be starting at the right back of the grid.
So, going for another lap. That would have been the start of the DRS on lap 3. However, the safety car did come out, which means it's going to be lap 7 before it gets enabled for this race. So just a bit more hard driving with no assistance for all of these cars as it stands. Not going to be able to make use of any of the 4 DRS zones, although technically there are 2 just split in half.
But that's sort of like, what track is it? Oh, it slipped my mind, but I know there's one track that's, it's gone from me. Okay, well. But it's Canada. Canada, that's what it is. I'm pretty sure Canada's DRS is split into two zones down the fight, the back straight, and then afterwards the start finish straight. There we go.
Another one is Hungary as well. It's split as well.
Yes, just round the first hairpin, start finish straight, the hairpin, and then afterwards the run down to turn 2. Of course, I should know that. We were there last week.
We were indeed. Safety car coming in this lap. Mulder will resume control of the grid. It is now up to him to set the pace. And Haas looking in a very good position for this restart. First and third for those 2 cars.
Blab will be there just to make sure there's as much pressure put on Broughton, because he's stuck in between a Haas sandwich of the 2 Haases.
It is, although once again it is complete any strategy up the top. Hards for first, medium second, and softs in third. It is a mirror image almost of the start of this race. We'll see when Mulder goes jumping on board with Broughton for the beginning of the race. Once again, the safety car has reached pit lane. It is now up to him to go whenever he wants, and I'd say he'll probably be going just before the final corner to really get as much advantage as he can. Indeed, there he goes.
Yep, and he's done it. He's done it.
He's caught Broughton massively there, already 8/10 of a second. Before Broughton gets catching on the straight once again. Blard's going to have a slipstream all the way down into turn 1, but he's not going to be close enough to make anything. Every single car will be cascading into turn 1, just getting that bit of slipstream off of each other even more than the last.
We're all through safely, I think. Yep, we're all through safely.
All cars are through safely. However, there's already a position being made by multiple cars. Dorado falling down the grid, overtaken around the outside by both Houseman and Curly through what seemed to be turn 3.
Houseman's debt as a man on a mission, especially because he pitted so late into the safety car period. It's kind of jeopardised where he was I think it was like second or third just before at the start of the safety car period, and now he's going to try and have to claw everything back now. He's got his work cut out for the rest of the night.
He has a long way to go up the grid indeed. However, anything can still happen in FVC. There is a virtual safety car deployed that will neutralise things once again. Not sure what the cause of this one is. We'll run down the grid, see what cars are looking like. No damage spotted for the top 5.
No damage? It's the SAS. The SAS has got no wing.
The full safety car is getting deployed now. And no wing for the Aston Martin. That could just be the strategy break as well for some, as Broughton dives to pit lane, as does Blah and D7 and Alexi. Mulder, OJ staying out, as is Salmon. No,
that's could be. Yeah.
OJ is coming in actually. As a lot of breaking board decimation there for the AlphaTauri. Pit rush is initiated. Soft compounds for the McLaren of Alexi is a very interesting choice at this stage of the race after 2 safety cars. Well,
I will say one thing is that Houseman, who else? I'm pretty sure. So Houseman is probably Houseman, Harrison, Apex, and Fexels are all going to be so glad that they pitted before the safety car period here, because they've kind of played almost a blinder on everybody, and now they've got a massive tyre advantage. Although saying that, there's still Houseman is still 2 cars behind Mulder, with the 2 Alpines right behind Mulder as of right now. But going with how fast Mulder has been on those hards, I don't know how difficult it's going to be for him to even get close to Mulder. As we saw last week, Mulder just started gaining time just on Houseman whilst they were having a little duel for first place during the start and the middle of the race. So we might see a repeat of that this week, but this time there's just two French cars in between them.
There is, but something that this also brings up, interestingly, is there's now effectively 3 different ages of tyre on this grid. You've got some
There's
people
one from the
still
start,
in
one
their
from the
race
first
start,
safety car period.
people from the first period, as you said, and of course people from this one here. So we've got effectively, there's people with 5-lap old, 4-lap old, 3-lap old, but then there's the people with the fresh tyres.
And I
Once
think,
again,
sorry,
we
I
are
think
not doing well here.
we're not going to do well here. I think the hard compounds might go to the really end of the race. They're going to preserve them as much as possible, and they're going to try and push those tyres to the end of the race. The softs and mediums are definitely looking at another stop at least at minimum.
Very much so. As for what was meant to be the second time of getting DRS activated, we are still under a safety car. We're going to be on green the end of this lap, which means by lap 10, hopefully, if another safety car doesn't come out, which is entirely possible, we should get some proper green flag racing.
Hopefully so.
But for the third time running, hard, medium, soft for 1, 2, 3. However, the tyres at this point are reaching, I'd say for the softs, they're starting to hurt just a little bit, so they might not be proving as much of an advantage as they would be during the start of this race, whereas the hards are only coming into their own element now. Haas still leads, but it's Alpine 2 and 3 ahead of a raging Red Bull in 4th and the Ferrari in 5th. Sass gets back into the session before the safety car ends, down in 14th. Every car still running will be present. We'll jump on board this time once again, the car in 2nd, as we wait for the safety car to head into pit lane. The confirmation has came through. Going green for the 3rd time in what will be 8 laps, or 7 laps, sorry. OJ sitting very close to the back of that Haas, gonna have to be careful that Mulder doesn't slow down abruptly at any point, which very nearly was a collision between the two. Of course, if you break your front wing here, it is the worst place because you're going slow until Mulder goes and you have to dive to pit lane. I expect we'll see Mulder going at the same place that he was, so maybe OJ will be a bit more prepared going off of this start, nearly coming alongside the Haas, getting the better angle into the corner, and Mulder leaves it just a little bit later, but he has bolted out of the last corner in a very similar place, not caught OJ off guard as much as he caught Broughton though. That could be just all the Alpines need to catch up even more.
Ooh.
Very wide Ferrari heading around the first corner. Houseman already making a move around the outside as the second Red Bull as well in the background, also making an outside move or attempt at one against the Ferrari of Harrison M. Very late braking. Harrison M.
There's a lot of contact between the Ferrari and Red Bull.
Rear end locking there for the Ferrari, tipping into the front of the Red Bull. Neither car looking to have any damage. Curly also getting a 3-second penalty for multiple warnings off of the restart.
There goes Houseman on the hunt now for OJ.
Indeed, running away up the field, already put a second between him and the Alpine behind. And here comes Apex, but he's getting pressured by Broughton from the Williams behind. Could have a lot of speed heading to the chicane. Also losing a lot of speed though. The Alpine moving against the Ferrari. Ferrari getting up to 4th place. While having a look around the outside of the Williams, not going to be able to make it work. That's a very late breaking down contact. Apex is round. Broughton into the back of the Red Bull. Broughton getting shoved off the track by the Haas of Blah, rejoining very much into the side of a Mercedes who nearly gets put into the wall. The Aston Martin also coming off badly from that of Pixels. Alexi getting by pretty simply. Mulder at 1:21.5 fastest lap. We're only going onto the first flying lap though this time round.
As Houseman just gets on the outside of turn 1 on OJ. And so now the pressure is really on for Mulder, especially considering that those hards are not as good as the mediums, but the mediums will obviously let up much easier. But Apex is probably going to be really bummed now, especially. Don't think there's much damage, at least from what I can see, although I think there might be a little bit on the barge. side pods and on the floor, but we'll see what happens with them.
If there is any damage to that Red Bull, it'll all be in the diffuser, and that's going to be very poor around this track. Here comes Harrison M going round past the Alpine up to third place for Ferrari.
As D7 gets on the ins, yeah, if it's D7 on the ins instead of Salmon Baker, just going just before turn, pretty sure it's turn 8. Yeah, turn 8.
Lexi having a look around the outside against that car. Alpine is out dragging the McLaren, and the McLaren's got the better turn in round the outside through turn 11.
Position swaps up, down, everywhere on the field.
Swaps indeed. The biggest loss though of this start, I think it's going to be Salmon down to 9th, but also Apex a big one down to 14th. A 121.3 for Blah is the fastest lap of the race, and DRS finally getting enabled on this lap. How long will it last is the major question. We are seeming to be running just a little bit better, as OJ going on the outside of Blah through what looks to be turn 3. Sass a 3-second penalty for multiple warnings. Houseman is within half a second of the Haas ahead of him, and the DRS zone is coming. Dorado, a 3-second penalty for multiple warnings, will jump on board with the Red Bull driver now. Here he comes, he's in the slipstream, he's going to have the DRS all the way down from turn 8 all the way to the chicane.
Racing down Ocean View Drive.
Here he comes, Red Bull getting ever closer. I'm off just a little bit for the chicane, just to be able to get turned in. Mulder taking a very defensive line, then just biding his time a little bit. He will have another helping the DRS to turn 11.
I think he's going to
be close enough, though.
He's not going to be close enough. I think he's going to let it off a little bit and just try and make that move, maybe into turn 3.
Turn 3 is definitely where it looks to be setting up for Ben currently. Back on board, hugely aggressive on the throttle pedal coming out of turn 14. Mulder pulling out of slipstream, possibly pulling away just a little bit on the straight before the DRS finally kicking in. Here he comes once again. He's not going to get it by turn 1. He's going to have another helping, but he's locked up the brakes a little bit heading to turn 1. Once again, aggressive on the throttle. Mulder is defended for 1 lap around the circuit through 4 DRS zones. Locking up again for Houseman. That's not going to help his tyres any.
A little bit loose there from Mulder, at least on my screen. I don't know if it's just desync, but just trying to keep on, still within 3 tenths. Oh, but his Houseman just gets a little bit loose and loses a 2 tenths on Mulder. But again, it just seems to catch on. It's like they have their Mulder's is made for straight line, whilst Houseman's better in the corners.
Straight line advantage can only give you so much when the DRS comes wide open. Here comes Houseman once again, gaining all the way up to the back of the Haas, letting off once more before getting to the chicane, but not as much this time. He's got a better line. He might be able to make a move into turn 11 this time round if he can get the power down enough. But he's not been able to that Haas, so he's just pulling ahead a little bit more every single time, taking over the batteries. Ben has lost, as does Mulder. They're both very much conserving their battery and overtake at this stage of the race. As around goes the Ferrari in the background, that's out of the race for Harrison M. And the safety car once again. I think that came out just too late for the top 2. It has.
It has.
Also
everybody
staying out is D7. Blood going in, Alexi's in, OJ's in, Broughton's in, Curly is staying out on the hards, as is Pixels and Dorado. Sass a drive-through for speeding under safety car, who is heading into pit lane immediately. Also in is going to be Apex. Salmon, I'm not sure whether or not he's going to be coming in again, but that is both Ferraris out of the race. Salmon staying out for the 3rd safety car. As we watched along the fight for the lead, we just seen the Ferrari let go in the background of the shot, breaking its front right wheel on the wall.
It's been a bummer for the front 2, but it's going to leave them really, really vulnerable, especially from all the new runners who I definitely can see are going to go to the end of it. And it's definitely played into some of the runners like Alexi, who were on soft tyres. I think it's played perfectly into their hands, because that's just given them a free pit stop and allow them to change on to tyres that should see them out to the end of the race. As we're probably going to probably get going round about lap 14, as we've still not got everybody caught up yet, and the safety car line, just to confirm that that they're going next lap is just after turn 9, or just before turn 9, I mean. So, and obviously we've still got SAS and Apex still to catch up to the safety car queue, but it's definitely going to be a good thing for Apex, because that's going to allow him to at least maybe get back into the race a little bit, just especially with that unlucky spin that he had. Oh, it must have been like lap, I want to say 9 or so.
Around then, once again, we've got about 4 different ages of tyres now on the grid. 11 laps old for Mulder up in the lead, 9 laps for Pixels and Houseman, 6 laps for third Town to fourth, as well as 6th place that it goes on to 7. But now there's a lot of people with fresh tyres. But as we wait for this safety car to end, also take a look at the previous winners at this circuit. Last time out, the 2023 Summer Series was taken by Amber. But then Season 4 and Season 1, Apex has got the most wins here, but he is currently running down in 12th place. We're likely to see a new race winner, all things considered, but we are only just... We're not even halfway into this race yet, actually, all things considered.
No, we're not. We've still got, what, like... I'd say we've only got, like, what, like another 2 laps before we're... Well, like a lap and a half before we're half race distance.
These we are. We'll also take a peek at the standings as well. 169 points, I believe that is, for Houseman, who's currently in second. Broughton, who's only running in 10th place, has 138. And then Scarlett, 101, who isn't present in this race. D7, 4th place in the standings, who's currently running in 3rd place. Going to be a big gain for him against his rival of Apex in 5th on 94, who's out of the points. Mulder, all the way down to 6th, but is leading this race. We get the confirmation coming through safety car in this lap. Let's see just how things play out once again. Mulder's trick is very much well known to the entire grid by now, but those tyres are feeling it. 12-lap-old hards and 10-lap-old mediums for the top 2.
That could
every
be
last little bit of heat into them. Battery fully charged for both those drivers. No surprises there.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting, because Houseman knows what Mulder has done the last 2 safety car restarts. I genuinely think he is going to be right behind, and probably even set off maybe that's a little bit too early, just to make sure that doesn't happen to him. But we'll see.
Taking a wide line going at the same place once again, but Houseman has read him perfectly. This could be a move into turn 1. Houseman's already gaining. He's on the overtake. That is very close to the back of that Haas, but he's led off the overtake of the battery. He's gaining even more. Had a look at the dive, lets off before turn 1. The Haas stays in the lead. D7's going to be pressuring them both, as is Curly.
That Haas is just a rocket ship in the straight line. Whatever Mulder's wanting to set up, but it just massively prioritizes speed more than anything else. As Houseman gets close again, but obviously it's not for another 2 laps until DRS is activated, so he's just got to stay behind as close as possible. Hope those mediums can still have enough life in them to follow behind that Haas. Although saying that,
here comes the Red Bull. The Mercedes getting very close. Houseman having a look around the outside into the chicane. That's going to be risky. That's going to be brave. He makes it just about.
He makes it.
Mulder's getting pressured immediately from D7. That's caution Sector 3. As Blas retired from the session, another safety car comes out.
Oh, yeah, another crash there.
For the 4th time in 14 laps, the race gets neutralized once more. Haas feeling the effects of it this time. And I'd say this is where this top group goes in for new tyres. They are halfway through the race on those hards. Half of it on the safety car, and indeed they are both in. Houseman in, Mulder in. Staying out though, the Mercedes of D7. Also in, big contact for Curly in pit lane against the rear of the Haas. Broken front wing for the AlphaTauri. That might be diffuser damage for Mulder as well. That will only complicate things for AlphaTauri. It's going to be a very slow stop now. Also staying out though is Pixels, Dorado, and Alexi.
Interesting. Although Alexi's got on hards that they've only just put on. Same with OJ and Salmon Baker.
Broughton, Apex, and Salmon also all staying out. Only 4 cars into pit lane of Houseman, Mulder, Sass, and Curly. Although actually, no, I think Sass didn't go in.
Sass didn't go in. Sass has still got 6 lap
So
old
only
tires.
3 cars heading into pit lane.
So now we've still got in tires from the first safety car period, the second safety car period, the third one, and now the fourth one. It's a complete jumble up with the tire strategy.
Pixels will be feeling the effects of this on the restart. 12 lap old hards, but 9 laps old hards in front and behind. Alexi on 3 lap old hards, as is OJ.
Just want to say one thing is that on the run down to turn 9 and down through Ocean View Drive, D7 did have a massive amount of speed going down. It's a massive slingshot. I don't know what was in that Mercedes, but he was able to catch up to the Haas and the Red Bull. So I don't know. I think there might be just a little bit more. I think he might have preserved the life of the tires and known what better, especially considering there's been a safety car period since he put them on. So there might just be that little bit more life within them compared to something, for example, pixels around them, which I think might back up the grid ever so slightly, considering that those tires with how old they are, maybe in a few laps time, they might start hemorrhaging his lap times.
Indeed, they might, but anything can still happen. We've seen 4 safety cars so far this race. Who knows how many more will come? Who knows how many virtual safety cars might come? Who knows if a red flag might even get deployed at some point in this race? As into pit lane is a Red Bull in the background. That's a very late call there from Houseman's crew. Going on to a new front wing and fresh, hard compound tyres.
Interesting.
That will send him all the way down to 12th, but his championship rival of Mulder, 9th place only.
I think he's changed the setting on the downforce. Just realizing that maybe having just a little bit less downforce might just be the key that's allowing Mulder to stay ahead just a little bit more, especially because of how fast that Haas is in a straight line.
Of course, you got to be careful with those front wing adjusts, because you change it too much, the rest of your setup will start working against you. Then you've got to put a new front wing on with the original downforce setting to get it back, and that's just going to lose you more time than you want. So he's got to hope that these setup changes work for him and that those tyres get fired up quickly. But he has the best tyres for this start. They are completely fresh and they have no wear. Of course, there are a couple of other drivers with only 1 lap old tyres ahead of him on the mediums. But he could be in a good place here. Safety car coming in this lap. For the first time, control will not be in Mulder's hands. It's going to the Mercedes of D7. Pixels, taking 2nd place, will drive on board with the Aston Martin driver.
Want to point out, we've also just during the safety car period, we've passed half race distance, so now it's really just, it is only once we get over the line, it's going to be 13 laps to go until the checkered flag.
It is going to be roughly around that. Lap 17 when we go racing. Safety car making its way to pit lane just up the road a little bit. The Mercedes, I'd say, probably going to go a very similar place to Mulder, but I'd be surprised if he changes it up a little bit, going slow into the final corner. And he goes the same place, he's aggressive though, on the throttle for Pixels, who nearly spins it heading out of the final corner. That's only going to lose him time to the Mercedes behind.
Yeah, his D7 is just kind of... I think Pixels got a little bit... No, Pixels used to start... Those tyres must be really, really starting to hemorrhage in the lap times.
Will be feeling it. There's another yellow flag down at Sector 1. I don't think that's going to cause anything, but 3-second penalty did go the way of Pixels. The top 3 all with 3 seconds. Alexi in 4th.
Alexi goes through.
Well, Alexi's able to third up into the grass. Big twitch there. Somehow keeps it going in a straight line. Curly, another 3-second penalty for multiple warnings. Ran the outside of the McLaren driver, getting the position done. Bit of a wall there for Mercedes. There's a big crash in the background.
That's a big crash.
Broughton involved. The Mercedes of Dorado. Broken front wing. Broken front wing as well. There's another car out. Curly's gone.
Curly's gone, and I think that's that's El Dorado as well. I'm pretty sure.
Dorado is still going, but a broken front wing for that. No damage looking to be in the front of the Aston Martin of Sass. Broughton's got no front wing. That's going to be deadly up front. Houseman missing an end plate. Alexi's having a look for second.
Oh.
Down against the inside of Pixels.
Has he done it in the inside?
Into second place goes the McLaren. 3 seconds to make up the road for D7. Sass now retiring from the session. There's another collision in the background. 3 seconds to make up the road for D7. Sass now retiring from the session. There's another collision in the background. 3 seconds to make up the road for D7. Sass now retiring from the session. There's another collision in the background. 3 seconds to make up the road for D7. Sass now retiring from the session. There's another collision in the background. 3 seconds to make up the road for D7. Sass now retiring from the session. There's another collision in the background. 3 seconds to make up the road for D7. Sass now retiring from the session. There's another collision in the background. 3 seconds to make up the road for D7. Sass now retiring from the session. There's another collision in the background. 3 seconds to make up the road for D7. Sass now retiring from the session. There's another collision in the background. 3 seconds to make up the road for D7. Sass
Oh, it's all just become bumper cars. Is Alexi must be absolutely flying. The same with Apex as well. They must be unexpected. The fact that these two, especially with Apex, the fact that he was spun round literally at the start of the race.
Both of these cars, though, can see the win. There's a 3-second penalty heading D7's way, and these cars have half the wear. That's a very late launch for Apex down the inside of Alexi. McLaren
Really good move
at
from
the
Apex.
switchback, doesn't get it done. There's 3 cars in pit lane. Curly leaving Dorado retiring. That's down to less than 10 cars running. We're quickly approaching only half the original cars that started this race. Continuing onwards, the time up at the top is falling. Only 2.3 seconds for D7.
Although with how Alexi's breathing down Apex, his neck, will she play the strategy game? Will she follow behind the Red Bull, or will she?
Twitch coming through the end of the chicane, getting it back together very nicely. But as much as she's catching up to D7 and trying to keep on the tail of Apex, she has to be careful. Mulder is there in 4th.
Mulder's rapid, especially because Mulder also has fresh mediums basically as well.
Indeed, he does. 3-lap-old mediums for Mulder. Broughton on fresh, soft, completely.
As that's DRS activated now. I'm pretty sure DRS
enabled on this lap. 1:21.2 from Mulder is the new fastest lap of the race. 1.5 seconds separate first and second. Mulder trying everything that he can to get up to Alexi. I don't think Apex will be able to catch enough to get within DRS range for this upcoming zone. 1.4 seconds, it sort of stagnated there. Into the 1.3s. He's not going to be close enough unless he has a miracle into this next corner.
No, but I think that move might happen more towards turn 9, maybe even turn 12.
Here comes Mulder at pass, getting very quick in a straight line. Alexi, though, also very fast, catching to the back of Apex, who's now within a second of that Mercedes up in the lead. They're all going to have DRS off of each other, heading on to lap 20. It is a 4-way fight for the lead as it is currently standing. The favour, though, goes the way of Apex to end now. The 3-second penalty for D7 will be detrimental. Big lockup for Mulder heading into turn 13. See the angle from turn 1 here. They all come, that gap coming down all the way through the field. Red Bull leading the McLaren. Alexi having a look at a dive. Isn't close enough to make anything. That Mercedes D7 still just holding out up in front. But how much longer is that going to last? There's very little time left for that car, and there's still a long way to go. Pixel's 3-second penalty for multiple warnings. Houseman a 120.0. That's a huge gain for a new fastest lap. D7's not had the greatest run out of that corner. I think a lot of very hectic things to be happening into the chicane.
I think so as well. It's all 3 cars behind the D7 all have DRS. They're just catching, especially Apex. As Apex is right behind on that gearbox of that Mercedes now. Oh, I think
Apex, he's getting a better run. He's going to have to go around the outside the long way around. There's a bit of contact, turn 11. Mercedes holding the inside. The Red Bull's got a better run, though. Going to have the new leader of Apex. D7's going to have to hold on as long as he can. He's got a Haas now attempting, as well as a McLaren, sorry.
McLaren.
Big slide for Alexi coming through the final corner. A bit of contact with Mulder. Gets it back going in a straight line. Great car control from Alexi so far, catching all these half spins.
Really, really lucky there from Alexi, I'd say.
But here comes the DRS once again. Mercedes having a look down the inside. Turn 1, not going to have the grip to make it happen, though. Might drive around the outside in those worn tires. That's very impressive there. But here comes Mulder now going for the lead. Once again, Alexi up to 3rd. Mulder 2nd, going to go to the inside. Mercedes somehow fighting it half the corner. Not going to have enough grip, running off the road. Big wobble coming through the corner.
Wobble.
Don't know how got that one back together. I don't know how there wasn't any contact between the Mercedes and the McLaren. Alexi, though, having a look around, got a better run off the corner, heading to the outside of the track, getting blocked off by D7, moving to the inside this time around. There's very little space there, somehow making it work. DRS going to be wide open now.
That's it.
Moving around to the outside. against the Mercedes that's got little grip. It's got no DRS heading to the inside. Not going to be close enough for the chicane. Alexi's up to second, only 1.2 seconds off of Mulder. D7 still holding third. Apex in fourth, but here come the Alpines now. OJ's the first one up, also catching to the back of the script. It's 5 ways nearly for the lead.
It's turned from almost just a two-way battle all the way up to sixth. Could end up leading by the end of this lap. Even though sixth was really far back, it could, considering how that group has started to really concertina together, it could end up...
half spin there from Apex going around the final corner. That's going to ruin his chances of getting any closer up to the front of the grid. Alexi's going to be a sitting duck with that DRS, but half second ahead will be enough of a buffer gap to keep it open before turn 1. D7's got a long way to go in those old tyres.
As it's just starting, this D7 is starting to lose more and more ground to that McLaren just with every turn, with how old those hard tires are compared to Alexi's hard tires.
For the grass,
D7 gets another penalty.
Or multiple warnings. That was a big twitch again. Good car control, keeping that going in a straight line. Here comes the Alpine of OJ, completely sat on the gearbox of that Red Bull, gaining even without the DRS assistance. Here comes the Red Bull though, making a pass to the left-hand side of the track, easily getting past the Mercedes. Off into third place goes Apex. OJ might be having a look at trying to get past any way he can. He's got much better cornering, however, he just has to let off from the absolute lack of grip that D7 has currently. That could just be the breathing room that Alexi needs to continue going up to the end of this race, but Mulder is flying ahead. It's going to take miracles for someone else to win this race.
Ooh, as Alexi just gets a little bit loose there on the second to last turn.
119, 827 from Mulder. Here comes Apex, the DRS wide open on the Red Bull. McLaren ahead, harvesting energy into the battery. Apex not going to be close enough, locking up into the corner. It's a little bit very aggressive on the throttle. He's got very little battery left. Alexi's got even less though up ahead. Mercedes of D7 is somehow still hanging on to this group despite the age of those tyres. A very good effort there from the Mercedes driver. Season 5 champion proving his worth through Season 6. He may not be fighting really true for the pole. There was indeed a bit of a twitch. Coming from Alexi, Mulder now 6 seconds ahead pretty much from the lead of the race.
That Haas is a complete rocket ship. It's just gone immediately.
D7,
not even a chance.
Having a look at the outside of the Red Bull. It's going to get boxed in though. The Red Bull's boxed in behind the McLaren. Mercedes having looked at the inside. Both go off the track though. Alexi 3-second penalty for multiple warnings. That's going to be detrimental for her. Apex will definitely be able to take that position at the end of the race unless he gets a penalty, but we did see him cutting across the exit of that chicane. It's entirely possible he gets himself a penalty by this point.
I think it might happen to Apex pretty soon, but considering that, we'll see. Oh,
off the road once again for D7. The Mercedes diving for pit lane, having enough of these tyres. It is done and dusted for that set of hards. That will put the Alpines 4th and 5th.
Oh, I think I don't see any apart from D7 unless D7 gets really lucky and there might be another safety car, but I doubt it now. I think everybody's into the end now. Everybody's locked in with their tyres.
See, the only cars that are really close enough together is that group from 2nd all the way down to 5th, as well as the 6th and 7th duo of Pixels and Houseman. Houseman going around the outside of turn 2 against Pixels. Very impressive move there.
Really impressive.
Up. Apex knows all he has to do now is just keep it on the track, and within 3 seconds of that McLaren he will take second place. Going now for an inside overtake though, diving into the chicane. Alexi defending it very well, but the rear end getting unstable for that car. Lost out just a little bit. Here comes Apex once again. Alexi moving over to defend, not moving over enough though. Apex will be up into 2nd place, but he's quite deep into that corner, nearly running off the road. Alexi's going to have another look down the inside, not going to be close enough though. Houseman 3 seconds for multiple warnings, his first penalty of the race. There's only 3 cars remaining without penalties, one of them being the car fighting for 2nd place in this race. It all depends now how well Alexi can catch up. She has basically no battery, but nor does Apex. We'll take a look at the Alpines behind. They're also running pretty flat as well. It is all now going to be pure driver skill and who has the DRS at the right times. Take another look at the tyres. It is equal footing in terms of age for Apex and Alexi, but Alexi on the hard compound tyres, they will be faring a little bit better by this stage, especially with the distance those mediums on the car ahead has gone. Here comes Lexi, DRS going to be wide open once again, coming down all the way to the chicane on the inside, heading towards turn 9. Yep. That's going to be a very simple overtake for the McLaren driver. Apex is going to have to settle behind. Here comes OJ getting involved in this fight now, just on the trailing edge of this fight. Gets a better run than both the cars ahead of him. The DRS is going to be wide open again for OJ. He might be having a look for third place on track. Has a look to the inside, thinks better of it, backs out. Alexi is deep into the corner. Apex is getting a bit of a better run through it. However, that McLaren staying ahead for now. As there's a... I'll get off of that camera in case there's any elliptic viewers. That was a bit of a wobbly couple of cars for a second there. My apologies, everybody watching. As it is still happening.
As I think, yeah, OJ might have just gotten a little bit of a better run, but Apex has just managed to find a little bit more speed down the back straight.
Indeed, he has a bit of a twitch there from the McLaren ahead, but also not a very good exit off the corner for the Red Bull. Apex is going to be feeling pressure, and he's going to have a hard time keeping it on track. There's not long left in this race to go, but I think he's got very few warnings. Alexi's deep into the corner. That'll allow the Red Bull to try and get a switchback, but not going to be enough. Won't be anywhere close enough. If I'm not mistaken, I think that Alpine might be missing an end plate, or no, it's not. It's just the game being a bit awful, is the simplest way to put it. Mulder running with a 10-second lead. The only way anyone else is winning this race is if Mulder has a crash on his own, which he's too skilled a driver to have.
Nope, not at all. Doubt.
But of course,
most of our crash from him.
The further ahead you get, the easier you take it, and that lapse in concentration, you could dip a wheel in the grass, just spin it in the wrong place. That could be it in the wall. Apex having another look down the inside into turn 11, doesn't make it though, stays behind.
OJ gets right up into the gearbox of that Red Bull again.
This could be the breathing room that Alexi needs, but speaking of Alexi getting a bit of a twitch, but so does Apex. Large twitch coming through the final corner, getting it all tied back together. OJ had to let up as well. OJ has basically zero battery charge in that car. It's going to be very hard to get anything back into the battery, and you're losing so much power with a flat battery. Only 3 laps remaining. Apex gonna have to be careful.
I think those medium tires are really starting to let up now for Apex.
Definitely are, but I think Alexi's hards are also starting to let up just a little bit. She's going wide into a couple of corners, getting a little bit unsteady as well. There's a huge amount of revs there for Apex, unsteady over the curves once again for the Red Bull driver heading up towards turn 6. Got to be careful here. Over the track limits goes Alexi. That's going to be another warning. Doesn't get another penalty though. DRS open once again, heading to the chicane. Half a second separates the McLaren and the Red Bull, and I think that half a second is going to be enough for on-track victories. Alexi can see the podium coming. There's not long left to go, but she has to keep it going all the way to the end. Pixel's 3-second penalty for 1-1, so 9 seconds now for him. OJ getting a much better exit out of turn 11. However, doesn't have enough.
All I can hear is just that every time I'm on board that Rebel, all I can hear every time they go out the corner, you can hear the wheel spin of it. It's
and he's had a bit of a wheel spin through the corner. He lost a lot of time to OJ. However, OJ having to let up once again. Apex defending very well for the tyres that he's got at this stage of the race. 2 laps remaining around the Albert Park circuit. And another big slide. Again. Here comes OJ, Sam the 3-second penalty for multiple warnings. OJ having to run the outside, not going to be close to making anything happen. Might go for a dive if he's ambitious, but he isn't. Keeping it going to the end of this race. You can see a good point finish for Alpine. Both of them can.
One thing to point out as well is that out of all 3 of them, Apex has preserved the most amount of battery. I don't know if Apex is going to try and push for that final lap, but considering how it is now, that I think that how his tyres are, I think Alexi might just sneak ahead and on track get second, but most importantly might just get third overall for them, as Broughton gets a penalty and is now out of all of what the 9 runners
There's
that we
only
have.
2 cars remaining yet to get a penalty. One being the leader, one being the car in 3rd place who's fighting hardest for 2nd. Another lockup though, and anything could happen. Alexi going deep once again. That's very late on the power for the McLaren. That could be detrimental down the straight, but the power defense in the exit the Red Bull gets, and it's not a good one. That's a lot of revs in 6th gear and the final corner. OJ only a tenth of a second behind. Might be having a look at the dive. Might be having a look at any way past he can to get the on-track overtake done. Not a good exit for Alexi heading through turn 2. Here comes the Red Bull of Apex. Letting off into the corner. Good defense from the McLaren driver. Having a look to the inside. Not going to be close enough. Locking up the brakes once again for Apex. Those tires are going to be screaming in agony by the end of this race. Running just a little bit wide.
As Apex now gets a penalty.
That's going to be it. Detrimental for his efforts. He's only got half a lap to make the position on track. This is now the fight fully for 2nd place. All 3 cars running with a 3-second penalty. They're all within a second of each other. OJ only 2 tenths of a second behind.
That's made Apex use all of his battery up right now. Is really catching up to the McLaren now? Is he doing a massive twitch?
Into the wall he goes. He's only got a little bit of battery. OJ completely flat. The Nixie in the McLaren head almost completely flat as well. Here it comes with the DRS once again. Alexi with the inside of the circuit, defending as hard as he can. Apex going to have to go the long way around the medium comfort tire. It's going to be too wide heading into turn 11.
It's too wide. It's a little bit deep.
Off the track goes Apex, and OJ's through. OJ's on to 3rd.
OJ might compromise. Is that might have compromised Alexi? Has it? Oh, OJ's now compromised. Is everybody
deep off the track. Mulder taking the win. Alexi coming around the final corner of the finish line in sight, and it's going to be a debut podium for her. Mulder's in the wall. It's not going to matter though. Alexi 2nd, OJ in 3rd. Apex just misses the podium. A big crash over the line for Salmon. Does finish in 5th. But that's what a big hectic ending. 6th place going the way of Houseman. 7th for D765. Broughton will take 8th place. And up in the gravel, Pixels will be 9th, getting 2 points. Into the wall goes Pixels. There is no
26
cars left.
26 old lap tires. He has done it all on.
A very good drive there from Pixels, but everywhere. Apex saying his tires were 80% by the end of that race. That was a very hectic end. Apex getting driver of the day given by the game, but of course, as always, we do have the Formula Companion app. Code is on screen. The app's available on all app stores. You can vote for who you think is driver of the day. Wow.
I don't know who I'd vote. Personally, it's going to be Apex because of what happened. I'd say it might be Apex, but then at the same time, you know, there's some really good drives from everybody across the board.
Indeed, there was. It's another win for Mulder, but a debut podium for FV Alexi with McLaren. A 2nd place right at the end of the race. 3rd place going the way of Alpine and OJ. Good points all around for the top 3. Good points for Alpine as well this race, taking 3rd and 5th. Mulder, a full 26-point sweep after that hectic Australian Grand Prix. 4 safety cars, 46.5 minutes in total runtime. 2nd place for Alexi from 6th on the grid, and 3rd from 8th goes OJ. 4th place heading the way of Red Bull's Apex, and 5th, a good result for Alpine, heading the way for Salmon. 6th place going to Houseman, 7th is D765, 8th place for Broughton, and the final finisher in 9th of FV Pixels. 10th place, the final point goes to Dorado, 11th for Saskimol, 12th for Curly, 13th goes to Bluff, 14th to Houseman, and 15th for Ferrari. A torrid day for some, and a terrific day for others.